Ready to dive in? We're tackling the world of influencers today. And let me tell you, it's a lot more than meets the eye. We're going way deeper than viral dances and sponsored posts to uncover what really makes these folks tick.
And what we found might surprise you. It's not just about algorithms and follower counts. Those are important.
Right. It's going to be more than that.
It's the human element, personal growth, emotional intelligence. That's what really sets the successful influencers apart. Those are the patterns we kept seeing.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We dug into a bunch of analyses of the influencer industry, and the thing that really jumped out, at least for me, was this personal development. They keep talking about personal development like it's the key to the castle.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, the whole digital landscape is crucial, but it's not the only thing, right?
It's like, think about how much the digital world changes, like constantly. Platforms come and go. Algorithms are always changing.
Oh, tell me about it.
It's a whirlwind out there. And influencers are basically running their own businesses in the middle of all that chaos.
Right, they're their own CEOs.
Exactly. One analysis called it the business of being you.
I like that.
And to stay on top of that, to stay relevant, they have to always be learning, adapting, changing, just like in any other field. You know?
Makes sense. So we're not just talking about keeping up with the latest TikTok trends, though that's probably part of it, right?
Oh, sure.
But it's more about like really understanding how to use new platforms as they come out, how to look at data and actually use it, how to negotiate brand deals, that kind of thing.
Yep. There was this one article that talked about how some influencers will go to workshops and seminars.
Oh, really?
Specifically geared towards their niche.
Yeah.
So it's a chance to learn new skills.
Yeah.
But it's also prime networking.
Yeah.
Meeting brands, other creators. I mean, one article even had this great story about this, what was she? Lifestyle, I think? Yeah, lifestyle influencer. She met this sustainable fashion brand at a workshop and ended up scoring this huge collaboration with them.
Wow. See, that's what I'm talking about, networking. Like they say, your network is your net worth, right?
100%.
But it's not just about who you know or the networking side of it. It's also how all this personal development stuff affects the actual content.
Right.
And how influencers talk about it, how they get their message out there. What are your thoughts on that?
It's huge. Honestly,
Yeah.
like I was saying, you can have the best ideas in the world, but if you can't communicate them in a way that actually connects with your audience, then what's the point?
It's all about getting free to people, right?
Exactly. And a lot of these analyses talked about how personal development for influencers isn't just about like learning hard skills, but it's also about really working on those softer skills. Communication, storytelling, building genuine connections, you know.
Totally. So like, yeah, content is king, but communication is queen.
Right.
That's catchy.
I like it. I'm going to use that.
Okay, it's yours. Use it. But okay, let's be real for a sec. Being on all the time, constantly creating, engaging, hustling, that's a lot. That has to be completely draining. Burnout is a real thing.
Huge problem in the influencer world, actually. One report even called it the silent epidemic of the industry or something like that.
Wow, silent epidemic. That's pretty intense.
It is intense. But what's interesting is that a lot of those same personal development practices we were talking about, like mindfulness, exercise, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
Those can actually be really powerful tools for dealing with burnout.
Really? I mean, yeah, when I'm feeling burned out, going to the gym or just taking a few minutes to just breathe helps a lot. But for influencers, it's not like they can just clock out at 5 o'clock and forget about it.
Right. It's a different beast for sure. But it's about figuring out those practices that work for them and actually making them part of their routine.
Yeah.
Making it sustainable. You know, like one influencer talked about using time blocking.
Time blocking. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like actually scheduling in breaks, prioritizing self-care. Another one said setting boundaries was key, like designating specific times to check emails, respond to comments, that kind of thing, instead of being glued to their phone 24/7.
Oh, that's smart. So it's like setting boundaries, not just for yourself, but for your audience too. It's about creating healthy habits for the long run, not just to be some flash in the pan.
Totally. Building a career, not just like going viral for a minute.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered personal development, but there was another piece of this puzzle that kept coming up in the research, and it's something that's so crucial for influencers, but it's kind of the less talked about element. And that is, you guessed it, emotional intelligence.
Dun. It's the secret sauce.
It really is, though. We hear about EQ being important in general, but I think in the world of influencers, it's a whole different ballgame. What are your thoughts on that?
It's fascinating because you see a lot of influencers who, yeah, they've got that charisma, they're bubbly, you know, they attract a following.
That it factor.
Yeah, the it factor. But it's the emotional intelligence that helps them turn those followers into like a real community, building those deeper, more meaningful connections that go beyond just liking a post, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just about being likable online. It's about really getting your audience right, understanding where they're coming from.
That's it. One analysis called it digital empathy, which I thought was pretty spot on. It's the ability to read between the lines.
Digital empathy, that's good.
Right. To sense what's behind the comments and messages and respond to that with empathy and authenticity. Because the internet, we all know, can be a bit of a minefield.
Oh, tell me about it. One wrong step and it's a wrap.
Especially when you're in the public eye like that. And that's where, honestly, a high EQ can be a lifesaver for these influencers. It helps them navigate those landmines.
It's like they need to be diplomats or something.
Totally. Respond to criticism without like completely melting down, and even use those negative situations to actually build more trust with their audience.
Okay, so how do they do that? Like, what does that look like in action? Are there any good examples from the research? Spill the tea.
Oh yeah, there are some really good ones. One that comes to mind is this beauty influencer. She did this big partnership with a hair care brand.
Okay, I've seen those.
And it turned out the product like had some weird side effects for some people.
Oh.
Yeah, not good. And of course, social media just like exploded.
I bet people get really passionate about their hair products.
Right. But here's the thing. This influencer, instead of getting all defensive or trying to sweep it under the rug, she actually used it as an opportunity to connect with her audience even more.
What did she do?
She went online and like straight up acknowledged the issue, said she was disappointed too, and then actually worked with the brand to like figure out a solution.
Wow. So she owned it. That's gotta be scary, putting yourself out there like that when things go sideways.
Totally. But the analysis pointed to it as a perfect example of emotional intelligence in action. She was able to really understand where her followers were coming from, their frustration, and then responded with empathy, you know, not just like a robot reading a script.
Totally. So it wasn't just about protecting her own image, it was about genuinely caring about the people who were having problems.
Exactly. And it worked. People really responded to that. It actually strengthened her reputation. She turned a negative into a positive.
That's amazing. It really shows that emotional intelligence isn't just about being like nice all the time.
Hello?
It's about handling tough situations with self-awareness and really caring about the people around you.
100%. And, you know, this whole idea of connection, of building those relationships, it's not just between influencers and their followers either.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more.
The research talked a lot about how crucial it is for influencers to build relationships with brands and with each other.
Oh, right. Like collaborations and stuff. It's like that whole, it's not what you know, it's who you know thing.
Yeah, but it's even deeper than that, I think. It's more like, it's not just who you know, it's how you connect with them.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Because that's how you build those genuine, long-lasting relationships that actually lead to, you know, more opportunities, more success.
So what we're really getting at is it all comes back to those personal connections.
Right.
It's like this whole big cycle, right? Like you work on yourself, you become a better communicator, you create awesome content that helps you build stronger relationships, which leads to bigger and better things.
It's all connected.
Who knew there was so much going on behind the scenes of those picture perfect Instagram feeds?
It's way more than just filters and hashtags, that's for sure.
So to sum it all up, it sounds like while social media might be the stage, it's really personal growth and emotional intelligence that are stealing the show.
100%. And you know what? This is something I think about a lot. These skills, they're not just for influencers. In today's world where like everyone's online all the time, being able to understand yourself, connect with people, build real relationships, that's like the secret superpower, no matter what you're passionate about.
That's such a good point. It's about the human connection, always. Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive into the world of influencers. Hope you learned some new stuff.